If there's one thing I can't do without, it's my to-do list. But a couple of weeks ago, I uninstalled my favourite to-do list app, Things, from all of my devices. And I found something much better. Hello and welcome back to Ellis Reviews, and thank you for subscribing if you have, and if you haven't subscribed, the button is, you know where the button is. I think I'm possibly the most forgetful person on this planet. For instance, I sometimes put things by the front door to remember to take them out. A lot of us do this, but I always forget them. Now at home, that can be annoying, normally for other people, but in business, it can be pretty catastrophic if I forget to do something. And that's why my to-do list app is pretty much the first app I install on my iPhone, my iPad, my Macs, everything. However, a couple of weeks ago, I did something I thought I'd never do, which is uninstall Things from all of those devices. And Things, if you don't know, is a wonderful to-do list app. But there's one reason I couldn't keep using it, which I'll get to in a minute, and also a brilliant alternative that has completely revolutionized the way that I work. And just quickly, because there's no sponsor on this video, I might as well take the opportunity to plug my latest SKILLSHARE class. So if you want to learn some of the tips and tricks and secrets that I put into the editing process for this channel, click the link in my description. You can try a free trial of SKILLSHARE, try out my new class, and you can cancel it after that if you want to without paying anything. So it's worth it, but go and check it out. So if you're a Things user, you might be wondering why on earth I changed. Equally, you may have watched previous videos where I talk a lot about Things and think, well, why is this guy getting rid of an app that he clearly loves? There's one very simple reason for that, and that is that 2022 for me is all about broadening my horizons as a tech reviewer. So I want to stop using Apple's devices all of the time and instead invest time in things like the Galaxy S22 Ultra. I reviewed this recently, link above, and even some Windows gear like this brilliantly named Lenovo Yoga Carbon 7 Slim. I think that's what it's called. So the idea being that I want to try other stuff. I don't want to get completely stuck within Apple's walled garden. There are three issues with this strategy though. The first one is the fact that I still can't find a decent writing app for Windows that matches Ulysses on the Mac. If you know of one, please let me know in the comments. The second is my calendar. I rely on Fantastical for that, and again, that isn't cross-platform, so I'm going to need to address that at some point. And the third, which is the subject of today's video, is the to-do list side of things, because Things is, it's quite an annoying name actually sometimes, but Things is an app that is only available on the Mac platform and iOS. That just doesn't work for me now, particularly now that I'm all cross-platform. So I had to find an alternative. There's about 8 million to-do list apps out there to choose from, and if you think I'm exaggerating, I'm a little bit, but have a look on your app store of choice. There are just thousands of them. Now I've tried a lot of them, including things like Todoist and OmniFocus, but there's one that has always caught my eye. It's called TickTick, it's cross-platform, and the reason I know about it is because I'm a bit of an avid MKBHD viewer, and he always talks about TickTick whenever he does a what's on my iPhone or, you know, a new device setup video. And to be honest, if it's good enough for Marquez, it's good enough for me. The other thing that's drawn me to it is the fact that TickTick looks very similar to Things. It's also not very expensive. I think I paid $27.99 for it, which for a year subscription, which isn't bad really. And straight off the bat, if you're looking for something that sits in between Things and a much more complex app like OmniFocus, TickTick sits just in the middle perfectly. So I've noted down some things that I absolutely love about TickTick during my first week with it. Firstly, great task management, organization, filtering. If you want to put all your tasks into folders, you can do that. You can tag them, all that sort of stuff. There's a fully featured web version, which is quite cool. Subtasks in TickTick are just as functional as main tasks, so you can put dates against them and all that sort of stuff. There's a great calendar view. There's a brilliant predictive task entry, a little bit like Fantastical. So you can type in, you know, get the groceries tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and it will put all the dates in there for you automatically. There's task templates, and you can add notes as separate database entries alongside all of your to-do items. It has proper attachments rather than just referring to a file location. That makes a massive difference. And there's even a great Safari extension, which is quite often forgotten by a lot of developers. Now there's loads more to TickTick than that, and I have only spent a couple of weeks with it, to be fair, but just those tiny little things, plus a few other things that I'll mention in a bit, have made a big difference to the way that I manage my to-do list. And as mentioned earlier, if you want something that is just a step up in functionality compared to Things and Todoist, TickTick is it's just got this lovely rounded set of features that are really well considered. And also the switch from things to TickTick for me was pretty much seamless and pretty straightforward as well, thanks to things like that predictive text entry when you're putting your new tasks in. So initial impressions, and of course I will spend longer with TickTick and come back and give you some updated thoughts in the future. But yeah, initial impressions, this is a stellar to-do list app, but it isn't all a bed of roses. Now for me personally, there aren't really many feature deficits between TickTick and Things. TickTick gets pretty much everything right and adds some additional things on which Things does miss out on. For instance, the ability to complete a future task. So if I want to complete a task from tomorrow, you can do that in TickTick. You can't do that in Things. It's really irritating. But there is one difference between these two apps, which is a little bit jarring at first if you've been a long-term Things user, and that is the fact that TickTick isn't as nicely designed. Now I think Things is one of the best looking apps on both the Mac and iOS. It's clean, there's loads of white space, and it just looks so perfectly modern. TickTick doesn't. Like I mentioned right at the start, it looks similar to Things, it's got a very similar layout, but there's something about the way it's designed that makes it feel, like I say, more cluttered. There's just lots going on with the TickTick user interface. So there's lots of text everywhere, lots of controls, lots of buttons. It just needs tidying up a little bit. There's also some more old-fashioned looking iconography and buttons and stuff like that. And like I say, if you're coming from Things, you're going to find TickTick just a little bit jarring visually. Now for me, that's not a deal breaker, and I'm slowly getting used to TickTick's user interface. It's becoming the norm for me now. And like anything really, you're not going to use two to-do list apps, so you will forget about the one that you left behind a little while ago. But I'd be lying if I said that I didn't yearn for some of that Things simplicity. So, Things or TickTick? Now, I know there are loads more to-do list apps out there. Like I said at the start, there's just thousands of them if you go and search for them. You may have a favourite yourself, in which case let me know what that is in the comments. But I'm only looking at these two now because we need to narrow this down a little bit. And the reason I'm looking at Things and TickTick is because one of them is completely Apple-centric and the other one is cross-platform. And that makes the conclusion here quite straightforward. If you are, like I used to be, completely in the Apple ecosystem, just get yourself Things. Things is a beautiful app. It's so well designed. It's got pretty much enough functionality for most people, and it's not expensive. It's just a bit of a no-brainer if you are just in the Apple world. If you're not solely within the Apple ecosystem, and like me, you kind of flip between Windows and Macs and Android phones, whatever it might be, then get yourself TickTick. Yes, it's not fantastically designed, but that may change in the future. And actually that doesn't matter when you look at that feature set of TickTick, because it is so good. The calendar integration, the fact that it's got things like the Eisenhower matrix, I'd never heard of that, but it's quite a cool way of organizing your to-do items. And it's even got a kind of journaling element to it as well. You could practically use TickTick for everything. And at $27.99 a year, that's a bit of a bargain in my book. So if you're an Apple person, go for Things. If you're a cross-platform person, or if you use Windows and Android, just get yourself TickTick. If you've still got some time, keep watching for a link to a video I made recently where I explain why Apple Notes plays such a crucial role in my business. But until next time, thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.